us.
Good afternoon and welcome to our panel discussion in partial fulfillment of the course Feature Writing. Today, I have with me three of my colleagues and we will be reviewing two articles that would have received regional recognition. I'll now ask my panelists to introduce themselves, starting with Andae.
Okay, hi everyone. I am Andae Ricketts, a communication studies student at Northern Caribbean University.
Hi everyone, I'm Dijonnaie Black, a communication studies student at Northern Caribbean University.
And I am Roshana Malcom, a communication studies student at the Northern Caribbean University.
Okay, so now we will begin reviewing and analyzing these two articles. All right. So firstly, I would like Roshana, Malcom, if you could just go ahead and give a synopsis of the story you looked at.
So my story is the international story, and it is titled "When Can We Really Rest?" And it was written by Nadia Drost on April 2nd, 2020. Now, what this article is really about is following the lives of a few migrants as they travel through the Darien Gap. So basically, it highlighted what they went through, and she wanted to focus on the challenges that these people were having. Along with the synopsis, what ties in is what she really wrote the story about. The two journalists, and she was accompanied by Bruno Frederico, they wanted to show the wider public what migrants have to go through to reach the United States. So the reason why these people are leaving their country is that they're not being treated as well as they would like to be. So they have to leave from their place that they are at and go to the United States. So she wanted to track how they did this, what they had to go through to reach where they wanted to go.
Okay, fair enough. Lancelott, do you have anything to add to that, since you would have worked on that story as well?
Yes, I mean, when I looked at that article, it was quite different from most of the pieces that we would normally write in class. And when I say this, I'm talking about the writing style. So as the story was told, you would see that it was a very descriptive story from the get-go. So when you look at the lead, and if I could just pull that up real quick and share just a piece of the lead. When you look at the lead, it starts by saying dusk was descending through the rainforest when the Cameroons and Pakistans stumbled into the campsite. They were in their 20s and 30s and loaded down with knapsacks, tents, and it goes on and on. Quite descriptive, quite narrative. So you know that when you start reading this story, it captures you. It captures you and it shares the information in such a detailed manner that you want to continue to read.
Okay, so what we're hearing from story number one is that it was very descriptive. Now, Dijonnaie, could you go ahead and just give a synopsis of the one that you looked at?
Okay, now the particular story that Andae and I looked at is essentially about a high-risk history-making brain surgery that was performed in Jamaica. Throughout the surgery, the patient, Ms. Pearson, remained in high spirits, talking and even singing at one point during it. Dr. Dwayne Cook and his team were able to pull off a first-of-its-kind brain surgery in the island of Jamaica's public health sector.
Okay, great. And this type of surgery is known as craniotomy, right? Now, what do you think was the author's purpose of writing such a piece, starting with Dijonnaie?
Well, with this particular piece, I found that the reason for him writing this was to educate the public on brain tumors. Also, he sought to just tell the story of what Miss Pearson had went through during her surgery time, as well as Dr. Cook and his team. So it just served as a light into what was happening at the public hospital during this time.
Right, correct. And this, as it had mentioned before, that it was a huge milestone in Jamaica's history. So educating the public on that milestone. So moving on to Lancelot and
Oh,
Roshana.
I
Right.
was saying, Andy, that additionally to what you would have said, the article also would have highlighted the fact that outstanding work is still being done in the health sector here in Jamaica. So we have a lot of talents who come from other countries and areas, and they would have studied in other parts of the world. But they are here in Jamaica, and they're still doing an outstanding work in helping to alleviate a lot of health issues that Jamaicans face. Because as the article did share, it was what you would say now, one of its first in that area.
And as it relates to the other story we're focusing on, do you have
Um,
anything else to add? Read the purpose of the
Purpose.
author writing that story or the writer writing that story.
Well, purpose. When I thought about the purpose, my response probably will be not what you would have been expecting, but possibly the purpose of this was to help or to inform others who are probably thinking of migrating how excruciating and intense a process like that or a traverse like that may be, and basically sharing that it is not a easy what you'd say now. It's not an easy
Road to
discourse,
travel.
right? It's not an easy road to
Right.
travel. So if I was looking into moving to the US via this route, I would probably rethink it, or I would have to make, or what you'd say, probably adjust my plans or my expectations from how you would go about moving from where this store was taking place through this gap and into the United States.
And not only this, I saw she did an interview and she really outlined the reason why she wanted to do it. She said that we started noticing that the frequency of the travel through the Darien Gap really started picking up probably 3 or 4 years ago. And that is why they decided to take a look at what is the reason behind this? Why are people traveling from their country to go to the United States? Why many people have also died on this path? Why do they want to try and do this instead of staying at their own country?
Yes, I agree with both statements. Know for the strength and weaknesses of each piece. So the health piece, I would like to say that piece was generally, it was written well, but I realized that they could have done a little bit more in interviewing the patient themselves. Looking at it is about the patient, the fact that the surgery was done, right? And from the article, I realized that the patient is actually a very jovial person, very expressive, but I could not get enough of that because the writer focused more on the doctor instead of the patient. And I'm like, if you have such an expressive patient, you could have added a little bit more information about her, especially in the lead as well. Dijonnaie, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, they definitely could have given the patient a little bit more life. Like you said, she did sound jovial, so I would have liked to hear exactly what she had been talking about during the surgery, because there was a quote that I saw and it was like, last week, I'm reading directly from the article. Last week, a smiling person expressed gratitude to the cook-led team and gave a rendition of a part of a song she belted out during surgery. I wonder what I have done that make this race so hard to run. Then I say to my soul, take courage. The Lord will make a way somehow, she sang. I told my daughter not to worry because what God wants for me, He inspired Dr. Cook to do it. They gave her little pieces. They showed little pieces of her personality, but they definitely could have done better at describing her more and going more into depth to make the patient more relatable and intriguing. Because just based on the little lines that I saw, or direct quotes that I saw from her, I really wanted to hear more about her and her story. So that could have been worked on, definitely.
Right. And also the piece was quite lengthy. And I like the fact that the writer took the approach of putting subheadings into the piece. But I believe that these subheadings
Took a while to get into.
took a while to get into the information regarding the subheading. So it's either you could have done away with the subheading or you could have put it at a better place so we could correlate the information.
I agree.
Yes, and something else that go ahead, Lancelot.
I was just saying, based on what Andae was saying, if they had repositioned some of the paragraphs, then there would be better flow, because the information was good, and especially the quotes, they were diverse, and I liked how they would have included quotes from both the doctor and the patient, and I think a family member was also involved in the latter part of the latter part of the piece. Right. So if some of the paragraphs were repositioned, and if just a bit more restructuring of the subheadings, then it would be really good.
Right. And in terms of the doctor, I think that the writer did a great job at highlighting him, and she really described him in pretty good detail. We could tell based on how she wrote, she called him soft-spoken. You could tell that he was a humble person. Even when he was at the end of the article, instead of even praising himself, he praised his team and said, the surgery is a credit, that I quote, the surgery is a credit to the caliber of skills at the hospital. He didn't even just, big up himself. He bigged up the entire hospital that he worked at. So I like the fact that she painted him in a very humble light.
All right. So moving on to the next story now. What were the strengths and possible weaknesses that you would have picked up, Lancelott and Roshana?
Okay, you want to go ahead, Roshana, first?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. All right. All right. So as I would have shared earlier on in the discourse, I was saying one of the strengths was that it was a detailed piece. So you could see that it's a feature and not a hard news story. You could see the different expressive words that were coming out and how well they would have explained the process of this migration. Looking at the weaknesses, I would say the piece was a bit lengthy. The piece was a bit like it was long. It was long. Yeah.
Possibly you could have probably added some subheadings too, like the one
Yes.
So that could have helped.
Right. To help with that. But yeah, that's what I was looking at in regards to the weakness. It was a long piece, but overall it was well written, and I could see that it was a feature. However, based on something that Miss would have shared in class, and I think it was a conversation between Andae and Miss, when Andae was asking Miss, I don't know if I am writing, I'm too descriptive in my writing, or if I write too much, and Lord, Miss, and so when I put a little bit there, I say, as descriptive. So I would have loved I would have loved to have listened to what Mrs. Tomlinson would say about this piece in regards to, was it too descriptive or was it not? Roshana.
I totally get what you're getting from that, Lancelot, because when you're reading it, it's like it's a story. It's not like it's a piece on these people.
Yeah.
You're really getting into their life. It's like you're reading a book, about that person's background,
like
that person's
Disney
background,
book,
why
man.
they're doing this. Right, it's very descriptive and it's quite a lengthy piece, but I think that they really wanted to show all of what these people had to go through, and in the piece you can see that, and they used beautiful pictures that you could see the mud, the places that they had to go through, and the quotes that were used are really tugging on your emotions, like just the title of the piece, when can we rest? And along these lines there are other quotes that are used that highlight a few of the things in this piece.
Great answers, guys. So now looking at how this article has impacted the local or international community. Now, for the health piece, I would say this positively impacted those who would have read it, because if we know KPH, and based on my big personality feature, I did a feature on a doctor that's working there, and she mentioned that they have a lot of patients to deal with, and someone reading this knowing that KPH has a lot of patients, they would often think a lot of patients might get overlooked or not treated properly. But when
Or
it
the
comes to
quality of the
this story is
care.
telling you that no, they actually spend time to take care of their patients. Anyone else would like to add to that?
Just to what you were saying, I was just saying that the persons would think that the quality of the care would be disrupted, but they try their best. And based on the article, you saw how it's passion, it is passion. Just like a teacher, if you're not passionate about teaching, especially if you're working in like a high school, you're going to sit in the staff room and just send probably a worksheet go down to the classroom. But when you're passionate about it, you want to ensure
And the teachers will never
that,
on your learn.
yes, you want to ensure that the students would have learned, or that the health persons would have, the patients would have benefited.
Okay, also this same article could serve as education because looking at it, a lot of persons might not know what brain tumor is, as simple as it sounds. And the term craniotomy, the surgery, the fact that that was a first in Jamaica, a lot of persons still might not have known about it. So this article would have
I had
definitely
never
educated.
even heard that word prior to this article. Never. So I definitely would say this particular article is it's very educating. There's a lot of things that you would not know that, for example, they were saying that if a certain part of her brain, when they were doing the open brain surgery, a certain part, if something went wrong, she'd have lost speech, all these different things. I had no idea that all of these different functions come with a simple, if he just missed and tipped something wrong. So it was definitely an educating article to read as well. Educating, entertaining, encouraging, definitely.
Yes, and that is the reason why they even did the surgery while she was awake, just to ensure that nothing was disrupted. Right. So moving on to the next article. How would this article impact the community? Anyone can go ahead.
Yes, I'll go ahead. So this article is showing these people's journey. It's showing what they have to go through. You may live in a nice house, everything is okay for you, but other people in the world have so much that they are going through, and you can really reflect on this. Because some videos on YouTube, people were commenting under those who had to go through this and say, wow, my life is good. These people have to go through so many things, and they worked so hard for these things. They can appreciate just how much that they can see through these videos. Yes.
I was saying that the impact can go in two folds regarding this article. So while one set of individuals might say, after they would have read, me not do that, would have never go through all of that just to go to America. Or just, I would never go through all of that just to migrate to America. Another set of individuals might look at it and saying, well, at least I know that this is what it takes to make it there. So I am going to prepare myself both in a physical manner, and also I'm going to prepare myself mentally to take this on, because I am desperately in need of a change. I am desperately in need to go somewhere else where the opportunities are better and are more plentiful. So that's what, when I'm thinking about the impact, that's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm thinking about when it comes down to how it would impact or what effect it would have on others.
Okay, Roshana, would you like to?
It was just going to go what he was, because I was seeing where he was heading with his. Both sides can really see what they have to go through. Those who have to go through, they say, "Well, I know that that's going to. I need more food. I need to ensure that I don't get hurt along the way, because when you get hurt, it's more likely that you won't make the journey." So it was just to reiterate what Lancelott was going to say.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. We definitely had a spirit-filled discussion. Thank you individually, Lancelott, Roshana, Dijonnaie, and yes, from myself and my team. Thank you so much for watching.